You noticed it without understanding it. The way she slowly stopped trying, the way her effort faded once she knew you were not going anywhere. In the beginning, she was attentive, curious, present. She watched your words carefully. She valued your attention. But once she felt secure in your emotional loyalty, something shifted. Her urgency disappeared. Her energy changed. And no one ever told you why this happens. That is the secret she hopes you never discover. This is not opinion. This is reality most men are never taught. Subscribe if you are ready to see clearly. Here's what most men don't understand. Her attraction was never based on what you gave. It was based on what she could lose. In the beginning, she did not know if you would stay. She did not know if you were emotionally available. She did not know if she had secured your attention fully. That uncertainty activated her instincts. It made her invest. It made her present. It made her care deeply. But you removed that uncertainty. You gave her constant reassurance. You gave her predictable loyalty. You made your presence permanent. You believed this would make her feel safe. You believed this would make her value you more. But this is not how attraction works. Attraction responds to emotional tension, not emotional guarantees. This attraction needs emotional tension, not guarantees, is why her behavior changed slowly, not suddenly, gradually, quietly. She stopped fearing your absence. She stopped worrying about losing you. She stopped feeling the emotional risk that once made you valuable. And when the emotional risk disappears, attraction loses its intensity. This is not cruelty. This is instinct. This is how emotional psychology functions beneath conscious awareness. She does not decide this logically. Her instincts respond automatically. They respond to emotional independence. They respond to self-contained strength. They respond to men who exist fully without needing emotional validation. Here's what most men never realize. The more you tried to hold her, the less she felt the need to hold you. The more you tried to prove your loyalty, the less she feared losing it. The more emotionally available you became, the less emotionally invested she needed to be. This is where everything changes. She begins to sense your emotional dependence. She begins to feel your need for reassurance. She begins to see that your emotional state is influenced by her behavior. And once the power dynamic shifts, most men miss she feels this. The power dynamic shifts silently. She stops chasing. She stops investing. She stops fearing your absence. And this is why it hurts. Because you believed love meant consistency. You believed love meant emotional availability. You believed love meant proving your commitment through constant presence. But constant presence without emotional independence removes the instinctual tension attraction needs to survive. She does not respect emotional dependency. She respects emotional stability. She respects emotional self-sufficiency. She respects the man who does not require her presence to maintain his internal balance. Here's the secret she hides without words. Her attraction grows when she feels your emotional independence. Her attraction grows when she feels your emotional discipline. Her attraction grows when she senses that your life exists beyond her approval, not because she wants to control you, but because her instincts are drawn to strength that cannot be emotionally negotiated. This is where most men collapse. They chase reassurance. They chase clarity. They chase emotional certainty. They sacrifice their internal stability to maintain her external approval. And in doing so, they abandon themselves. She feels this abandonment. She senses this shift. She senses that you have made her the center of your emotional identity. And once she becomes the center, she no longer needs to chase your attention. She already owns it. This is the moment attraction begins to fade, not because you failed, but because you stopped protecting your emotional independence. This is the part no one tells you. Her attraction was never sustained by your loyalty. It was sustained by your self-respect. And this is where the comeback. Emotional independence is power. Everything reverses. This was never about her. This was always about you. Your emotional discipline determines your value. Your emotional independence determines your presence. Your ability to exist without seeking validation determines your strength. When you stop seeking her approval, something shifts inside you. You become calm. You become grounded. You become emotionally self-contained. Your presence stops asking for permission. Your presence stops negotiating its worth. And this changes everything. You stop reacting emotionally to her distance. You stop chasing emotional reassurance. You stop explaining yourself. You stop seeking emotional clarity from someone who benefits from your uncertainty. You become still. You become emotionally unshaken. And when a man becomes emotionally unshaken, he becomes impossible to control. This is not about punishing her. This is about reclaiming yourself. This is about restoring your internal authority. This is about becoming the man who does not depend on external validation to feel complete. You stop abandoning your purpose to maintain her attention. You stop sacrificing your focus to secure her emotional approval. You return to yourself, and this is where your power lives, not in controlling her behavior, but in controlling your emotional state. You stop measuring your value through her attention. You stop attaching your worth to her responses. You stop negotiating your self-respect for emotional comfort. You become emotionally sovereign, and this is the secret she cannot influence. Because the man who no longer seeks validation cannot be emotionally controlled. The man who no longer fears loss cannot be manipulated by emotional withdrawal. The man who stands firmly in his own self-respect becomes unshakable. She feels this shift. She senses this difference. Not because you told her, but because your energy changed. Your presence changed. Your emotional reactions changed. You are no longer chasing. You are no longer seeking. You are no longer negotiating your worth. You simply exist, calm, controlled, unaffected. And whether she stays or leaves stops defining your value, because your value was never dependent on her decision. It was always dependent on your self-respect. This is the truth most men never learn. But once you see it, you cannot unsee it.